Are you really, really frantic about getting payroll information done and accurate because you have a huge, not a huge business, but a lot of payroll information and paychecks to keep track of and employees? You don't know what to do? Are you pulling your hair out? Well, you're lucky you found the right place, because I can solve these problems with just like Snap. It's like that old television show, I Dream of Jeannie. I am snapping my fingers, and here's how it works. Let's talk about it. Going to show an example of complex payroll situations today, everybody. This is a fun one. Imagine you have a couple employees, like a couple executives or something, that like to get paid, semi-monthly or something on a regular schedule where they, get two checks every month, and then everyone else is an hourly employee going down into infinity. Let's say that the next 8 employees here like to get are paid hourly basis, and they're paid weekly also, instead of semi-monthly. Well, I've set a situation where the file here is going to automatically calculate the differences between those and roll everything into your proper monthly and quarterly reports automatically. I'm going to show you how it works. So when you enter in information, we're doing North Carolina today, so we're obviously doing the Wright brothers. There's Mr. Wright, and then there's Wright brothers going to be the second employee. They're going to be your executives because they built the plane. Did they fill out a 2020 W-4, yes or no? If they did, state allowances, the state you're in, is there any local tax? You'd have to put it here if there is. There's no additional allowances for North Carolina, so you actually don't even need that. And you'd pick a state filing status. Whenever you choose like North Carolina here as the state, it's going to generally, sorry, when you choose North Carolina here, it's going to generally pop up in red, queuing you to fill in a filing status for whatever your employee is, okay? And if you asked, if they said they filled out a 2020 W-4, which everyone's going to have to start doing that, then it's going to ask you these questions over here from the 2020 W-4, which is shown here. You can look at it. These are the questions. If you want to run simulated numbers, you can put them in here. But anyway, getting all your employee information and also vacation balances is something I can work on as well. I haven't programmed everything exactly into this yet for everyone, but I can, so know that that's out there. And any of this other information, you'd fill that in and you would have your employee information in here. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to a daily entry sheet. And the daily entry sheet is where you're going to keep your hours. And it doesn't matter what these hours are, you can always change them in the future, whatever title I have here. So, example, if you have office hours, you can call this office hours, and then we can change that throughout the entire rest of the file. And your office hours totals, everything related to office hours everywhere, will all of a sudden change. We actually could have done like a control F where we searched for the word regular and replaced it with office. But this is just how easy it is. I just wanted to show everybody how easy it is. And voila, you're going to have your office hours here. Now let's go back though. I want to show you some more things about how to use this. So usually you're going to be looking at a clean slate like this right here. But let's go down one at a time. I already have a bunch of records in there, but I want to show you how you do this. So you choose the employee. Let's say Mr. Wright, employee number one. What's today? Today is the 16th of October. Let's say that this employee works, big day, 10 off, maybe 8 hours and then 2 overtime office hours. Sorry, 2. So holiday vacation or another option you can put in there. If you fill that in, it's going to automatically figure out what pay period these hours happen in. It's going to go into this main pay periods record sheet where all your pay period records are located. And you can browse by employees or by pay dates. If you wanted to see just Mr. Wright, you could choose, deselect everything and choose just Mr. Wright. Or that pay period, different pay period is going to be listed here now. What's interesting about this file is that the first two employees here are on a different schedule and a different set of pay periods. So they get paid semi-monthly, whereas everybody else gets paid weekly. So when you're entering in hours, you're gonna have a bunch of weird different pay periods, and it's shown here in the pay stub. Because normally with the pay stub, you'll have regular pay periods where it's just, you know, like it would be 114 and 130, the end of the month or right before the end of the month. But instead, you have all these pay periods speckled throughout because there's all these weekly pay periods in here as well. Um, so when you search for each employee, you're going to find out that things are going to change. and the employee is going to need to see its proper pay period. But this does work. It does accurately work. I've been testing it out. So this is a weird situation where because we're able to adjust the programming in this thing on the fly, a main payroll program like a QuickBooks or something like that, or any of these paychecks, all these big companies that are trying to do payroll are going to be like, you got to choose a pay period for your business. You can't have multiple pay periods. It screws everything up. Well, actually, I solved the problem. It's complicated, but if you know that you only have 2 employees that are going to be doing that, you can just set up the file like I have done that to do that. So as you put in hours and stuff, it's going to prompt you for hourly rates of people if you haven't typed something in this cell. So for example, if you add, if you change some dates here to like 1:30 or something later for Mr. Wright, you can go and see that all of a sudden things start popping up in red here because it sees that some hours have automatically come in from your sheet that you typed in, and it wants you in red to be like, well, what's this person's hourly rate? You need to put it in there because it's going to figure into their pay stub, which is over here. So does Wright Brother 2 have any paycheck? I don't think so. Anyway, that's kind of the basic tutorial of how this works. Your main reports for quarterlies and stuff are right here. And you choose the quarter, it's just going to pop up and all the information is going to show up right over here. These things are totally dynamic too. You can add anything to it. If you need to change the way that hours are recorded here, you can do that. If you want to record paying people by projects or types of projects, I have some stuff that was hidden over here that can do it in here as well. There's all elements to the pay stub, things like health insurance, life insurance. There's no paid family leave or state disability in North Carolina. And by the way, I said I was going to talk about North Carolina. Let's do that. 1 second. Let's go talk about North Carolina. You can just type in the dates here as well. 1420. State tax for North Carolina, how is that calculated? It's pretty easy. There's 2 separate formulas depending on whether or not you're head of household or not. And all you need to do is know that there's a standard deduction that you annualize your wages. You figure out what your taxable wages are for the period, and you annualize them, and then you subtract out the standard deduction of 10,750 for single or married or surviving spouse, and then you just minus out exemption amounts, which are $2,500 per exemption. That's what the North Carolina exemption is. It's $2,500 per exemption, which is what you're choosing here on this state allowance thing and the employee info. When they fill out their North Carolina W-4 equivalent or whatever, and they put how many allowances they have, that's the number that's going here. That's the number times 2,500 that they're able to deduct from their pay here. And it's a very easy formula for both of them. And they just figure out whether or not they're head of household or whether they are single, married, or surviving spouse, divided by the number of pay periods in the year, which is the end of that formula, that divided by underscore PP2. And so I've changed around the pay period so that it does it correctly for each pay period. Like this is a weekly person. The Miss Sister, the third employee, is getting paid weekly, whereas the first 2 are getting paid semi-monthly. And everything works. So what you would think would be super complicated and totally a structural redesign of a payroll file actually flows pretty darn quickly. And this person needs a rate right there. And everything fixes itself up for you. So that's the under 10-minute tutorial on how you look at reports. If you want to look at a monthly report, you have to get rid of the quarter here and then choose the month and it'll work. Same thing goes for pay periods. And you can see that, interesting, this is not going to show semi-monthly pay periods. Pay period's going to be actually really different because those semi-monthlies aren't going to show. You really want to look at this by month and by quarter because that's the way you should be paying your taxes, unless you're a semi-weekly filer. But at this size of a smaller business, you're probably a monthly payer for all of those taxes. Anyway, that's the quick tutorial. So enjoy payroll. It should be easy. There's also a W-2 section here that works. So yeah, payroll should be easy, so make it so.